Have you ever had a dream so big that people called you crazy for it? A dream that felt like trying to touch the stars from the bottom of the ocean. Today, I want to share a story about a boy who didn't just have a big dream. He lived it, breathed it, and chased it against all odds. This is the story of the boy who chased the wind. Imagine a small, dusty village nestled in the heart of a vast desert. In this village lived a young boy named Karim. More than anything in the world, Karim loved the sky. He would spend hours watching the birds soar effortlessly above the endless dunes, their wings catching the currents of the wind. With every bird that glided past, he'd whisper to himself, "One day, I'll fly too." But in a village where survival was a daily struggle, dreams like flying sounded like pure madness. The other villagers, practical and grounded, would often laugh at him. "Karim, you can't even afford a new pair of shoes. How on earth do you plan to fly?" they'd mock. Their words were sharp, meant to bring him back to reality, but Karim's spirit was not so easily tethered. His dream wasn't a fleeting thought. It was the very air he breathed. He didn't argue or try to convince them. Instead, he began to act silently. Diligently, he started collecting scraps that others saw as junk. A torn piece of cloth from a merchant's cart, splinters of wood left over from a building project, old bent pieces of metal that had been discarded. To everyone else, it was a pile of trash. To Karim, it was a treasure trove of possibilities, the building blocks of his future wings. While the rest of the village slept under a blanket of stars, Karim's real work began. The quiet desert night was his workshop. He would draw complex designs in the sand, his fingers tracing the shapes of wings and propellers. He'd build small models, testing tiny wings made from palm leaves and sticks. He'd toss them into the air, and time after time they would tumble and fall back to the ground. Failure was his constant companion. But here's what made Karim different. With every failed attempt, he didn't feel despair. He didn't see it as a sign to give up. Instead, a small smile would form on his face, and he would say to the silent night, "Well, at least I learned one more way that doesn't work." Each failure wasn't a setback. It was a lesson, a stepping stone on his long journey toward the sky. Years went by. Karim grew from a boy into a young man, and his collection of scraps grew with him. He was still the village dreamer, the odd one out. And then, one day, disaster struck. A furious sandstorm, a monster of wind and sand, descended upon the village. It raged for hours, tearing through homes, burying fields, and ultimately destroying the one thing that kept the village alive, the small old windmill that powered their water pump. When the storm finally passed, it left behind a scene of devastation and despair. Without the windmill, the well was useless. Without water, there was no life. Panic spread like wildfire. People cried, they prayed, they feared the worst. The village was on the brink of collapse. But while others saw only an end, Karim saw a beginning. He looked at the wreckage of the old windmill, at the scared faces of his neighbors, and at his own pile of carefully collected junk. An idea sparked in his mind. He stood up and declared to the stunned villagers, "If I can rebuild the windmill, maybe I can help. And maybe, just maybe, I'll finally learn what it takes to catch the wind." He set to work immediately, his hands moving with a purpose no one had ever seen in him before. He used every piece of wood, every strip of cloth, every bit of metal he had gathered over the years. The villagers watched, their skepticism now mixed with a sliver of desperation. Some still mocked him. "Look at the dreamer. He's building his toys while we're all about to die of thirst." They'd sneer, but Karim didn't answer. He didn't have time for words. He just worked. Day and night, he hammered, sawed, and assembled. His creation was unlike any windmill they had ever seen. It was tall but rough and uneven. It was crooked, a patchwork of different materials. It looked, to be honest, like it would fall apart with the first gust of wind. After a week of non-stop labor, it was done. The new windmill stood against the desert sky, a strange monument to a boy's relentless dream. Everyone held their breath as a breeze began to stir. The wind picked up, and then it happened. The massive makeshift blades creaked, groaned, and then slowly they began to turn. Faster and faster they spun, catching the desert wind. And then a sound that was music to everyone's ears. The steady gurgle of water flowing once again from the pump. A cheer erupted from the crowd. It started as a murmur and grew into a roar of relief and joy. They had water. They were saved. And for the very first time, they looked at Karim not as the village fool, not as a crazy dreamer, but as a hero, a genius. From that day forward, everything changed. Karim was no longer just Karim. He became known as the boy who chased the wind. His reputation spread beyond the village, and soon word of his incredible feat reached the city. He was invited to study engineering, to learn the science behind his intuitive creations. Years later, Karim became a renowned engineer. He designed and built incredible machines that helped people all across the desert, bringing water and power to remote villages just like his own. And yes, he finally learned to fly, not with wings made of cloth and wood, but in airplanes he helped design. Soaring through the sky with the power of his knowledge, his hard work, and the unwavering determination that started with a simple, crazy dream. The story of Karim is more than just a fable. It's a powerful reminder for all of us. It teaches us that dreams often seem impossible or crazy, but only until they come true. Every single failure, every setback, is not the end of the road. It's just a lesson, a step forward. People will doubt you, they will laugh at you, and they will try to pull you down until the day you prove them wrong with your success. And remember, you don't need the perfect tools or the perfect plan to start. Big achievements, world-changing innovations often start from the most humble beginnings, with scraps, with what you have right now. So, whatever your dream is, no matter how big or crazy it seems, don't wait. Start building. Start collecting your own scraps. Chase your wind. Because you never know, you might just end up saving your village and learning to fly in the process. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more inspiration. Let us know in the comments what dream you are chasing. See you next time.